Okay, so hi everybody. Thank you for your interest in Drexel University Archives online resources. I'm Sarah Newhouse. I'm the digital archivist at the Drexel University Archives. And the first thing I actually want you to know about online resources is that digitized does not equal online. We actually have a lot more stuff digitized than we do online. We have a drive full of scanned photographs that are not part of the online collections you're about to see. So if you're looking for something in particular and don't see it in any of the online resources I'm about to show you, please contact us. There's a pretty good chance that we have something that will meet your needs. We just haven't put it online yet. All right, here's a very brief overview of who and what the Drexel University Archives are. We collect, preserve, and provide access to records documenting the history of Drexel University. So this includes all the stuff listed on the slide, administrative records, university publications, and the personal papers of students and faculty. And as the digital archivist, I encourage you to think of this stuff not just as old papers, but also as digital files, things like PDFs, Word documents, websites, cell phone photos, and emails. If you are interested in or have questions about our collections or what we do, then I encourage you to ask those questions at the end of our webinar, to email us at archives@drexel.edu, or attend one of our other webinars, which I believe a link to that will be showing up in the chat, or a link to the description of our other webinars will be showing up in the chat a little later on. So our online collections cover three main types of materials. We have digitized archival materials, which are scanned photographs, yearbooks, course catalogs, basically digitized versions of the paper materials that you would expect to find in an archives. We also have collection descriptions, so guides to all of our archival materials, both digitized and not digitized. And we have website archives. We preserve snapshots of websites that are maintained by or related to Drexel University. And these three types of materials are available via three different access points. Although we're recording this webinar at a transitional moment in time, and we're moving towards having everything available in one single access point in the very near future. So as of right now, as of October 2020, the three ways to access our materials are IDEA, which is our repository for digitized archival materials, our Archives Collections database, which runs on a system called ArchiveSpace, and our website archives, which runs on a tool called ArchiveIt, which is both the tool that we use to harvest website archives and the tool that you will use to view the preserved websites. So I actually want to switch to the somewhat risky live demo portion of this webinar right now and start showing you IDEA, our digital image repository. So you should be seeing a screen or seeing IDEA live on the web right now. If you're not, please let me know in the chat. IDEA is our online digital image repository, which means it's how you access materials that have been digitized and placed online. You should note, however, that this repository contains a lot of stuff that isn't Drexel University Archives materials. You can see some of it on the screen right now. We have theses and dissertations for graduate students who attended Drexel. We have this collection of mid-20th century Polish art posters, which is amazing, but belongs to Westfall. And this equally amazing collection of women in medicine historical materials, which belongs to the archives at the College of Medicine. They're called the Legacy Center. And all this stuff is great, and I'm happy to answer questions about it, but for the next 10 to 15 minutes, I'm just going to be focusing on materials that are part of the central Drexel University Archives. These historical materials from Drexel University Archives are, as you might guess, in the Drexel History Collection. We have a couple different types of materials or subjects of materials arranged into collections here. Let me point out some of the highlights to you. We have the Drexel Family Collection, which contains selected digitized materials about Anthony J. Drexel, the founder of the university, and his family. These are mostly photographs, but we are planning to add more things in the future. I believe we actually are doing a big ingest of Drexel family material this week. We also have quite a few yearbooks, which I think are an incredibly underrated resource. If you want to look at fashion from the 1960s, go to the yearbooks. If you want to look at what kind of social activities students were into in the 30s, yearbooks. Want to look at how demographics have changed, or even how campus architecture and landscape has changed, yearbooks. These are a great resource that I really hope you think about for many different kinds of research topics. And the same can be said of our student newspaper collection here in the periodicals collection, which eventually will have more items than just the Triangle. The Triangle is the student newspaper, of course, and we are currently in the process of adding Triangle issues to IDEA. So we only have a couple years available right now, but keep checking back. We are adding more. So let's move on to talk about how you interact with IDEA and can actually get to the images and resources that you need. So you can, of course, just browse our collections. You can pick a collection that sounds interesting and then click on a sub-collection or an item and just kind of click down through the layers until you get to an image that you think sounds interesting. Once you get to an item, you will see some descriptive metadata at the top, and then the actual scanned or digitized object below. And I'll point out here that we have a couple of different kinds of files in our digital repository. They're mostly PDFs and image files, so JPEGs or TIFFs. And the difference likely does not matter to you unless you want to download something or do a full text search inside a PDF. If you're looking at a photograph or image file, like this one, you can right-click and save image as to download the image. Or if you're looking at a PDF, like this 1957 yearbook, you will see a slightly different image viewer in the bottom under the metadata. This is a viewer specifically designed for PDF files and for full text searching. So we use it for our text-heavy resources like yearbooks and course catalogs. To download a PDF, you can click on this downward arrow in the menu bar right here. You can also do a full text search using the magnifying glass, which will open a search box, and you can type in a keyword here, and you will search inside the entire document to find whatever you're looking for. This is great if you want to answer a specific question or look for a specific person. Suppose my grandmother's name is Nancy Overholtzer, and I know she attended Drexel in 1957. I can type her name into the search box and find a couple of Nancys, but also find this incredibly charming photograph of my pretend grandma. Let's jump back to this is a PDF file. Let's jump back to a photograph example to talk a little bit about our linked metadata. So you'll see in the descriptive information at the top, some of these terms are blue. This means you can click on them and they will help you browse for similar things. So if we click on children, we're going to get all of the objects in IDEA that are also tagged with the keyword children. You will get historical results this way from the Drexel University Archives, but you also get stuff from all of the other collections in IDEA that I mentioned earlier. So you'll get results from the College of Medicine, from our Theses and Dissertations collection. And so it can be helpful when you are clicking through linked metadata like this to also use the facets on the right to narrow things down. I think if we jump a couple pages back, I can show you what the ETD results look like. the electronic theses and dissertations, yeah. So these are some theses and dissertations results showing up in the subject heading for children. So these were also tagged with children, but might not be what you're looking for if you're interested in archival sources. So in addition to browsing, you can also, of course, just search. But again, this gives you results from every collection in IDEA. So we're getting results from the Polish posters up top here. This one is from our archives. It's an audio recording of our fight song from 1955. And there's a thesis down here too. So again, when searching, you may want to use the facets on the right to help narrow things down so you're not dealing with an unmanageable number of results. Now, let's jump to our archival collections database. So libraries have catalogs where you can search for an individual book, but because archives organize their materials by collections based on who donated or created the material, we don't have the same kind of cataloging standards. Instead, we have nested hierarchical descriptions that describe entire collections, groups of material within those collections, folders of material within those groups, and items within those folders, all within the same record. So that record that describes an entire collection and increasingly narrow categories of materials inside that collection is called a finding aid. And they're called this because these kinds of collection guides are an aid to you finding things in archival collections. But I may use the term finding aid and collection guide interchangeably. Finding aid is kind of a jargony term. So let me show you what our database of finding aids looks like. That lives here at archivalcollections.drexel.edu. And the finding aids for several different archives that are all under the Drexel University umbrella all live here in this database. This site will search across the collections of Drexel University Archives, the Legacy Center at the College of Medicine, and the Academy of Natural Sciences Archives. And keep in mind, this database is for descriptions of our material only, so like a library card catalog. This is not where you go to view digitized materials. If you want digitized materials, you should go to IDEA, the system that I just showed you. There are a couple of different ways to get into the collection guides here. You can select a repository in the upper left if you know what you're looking for. You're definitely looking for something from the Academy of Natural Sciences. If you click on this, you can then search just within this repository. You can also just view all of the collections that these three archives have. And each of these listings for a collection should tell you which archives it's from. Most of these are from the Academy. Here's College of Medicine. And you can also browse by subjects and names, which will give you the subjects and names that are in all of our collection descriptions. And again, these span these three archival repositories: College of Medicine, Academy of Natural Sciences, and Drexel University Archives. And clicking on one of these will show you what collections are related to this person, or if we were in subjects, what collections are related to this subject. And of course, you can also just do a keyword search across all collections. And since this is the primary way that you will probably be interacting with our collections database, let me show you what this looks like. The search results for a keyword will pick up that keyword wherever it appears in a collection, whether that's in a subject heading, a description of an individual item inside a collection, or a description of an entire collection. And you can see all of these on the page here. There are subject headings that include the word basketball. There are individual items inside a collection that contain the word basketball. And here's an entire collection that has the word basketball in the title. So let's look at one of these collection guides or finding aids for an entire collection. This one is for the Drexel Players, which still is our theater group. So once you're looking at a finding aid, they can seem a little bit overwhelming. Archivists like to err on the side of giving you too much information rather than too little, so that there's a lot of transparency about our historical records and how they're made and how they get to you. But basically, the finding aid has two main sections that you'll want to focus on. The collection overview is exactly that. It's information about the collection that can help you decide if this collection will be useful to you in your research. This usually has information like the dates that the material in the collection are from, conditions that might restrict how you can use or access the collection, information about how it's organized. Let me expand this so you can see more of it. And very importantly for archivists, information about who created the collection, whether it's a group or an individual. The other important thing for you to see is this collection organization on the right-hand side. So I mentioned that collections are hierarchical and kind of nested levels of description. That's what this looks like. This collection is the Drexel Player records, and inside it there are three main subgroups of records, which we call series, but that really doesn't matter right now. And then within these series, there are individual items and other groups of materials. So you can drill down through these levels of description and information about the collection. And then once you start getting to individual items, clicking on an individual item will give you information about where that item is. So the scrapbook for Something's Afoot is in box 2, folder 1. And so now you can use that information to contact the archives and if we weren't in a pandemic, request that you could come see it or request that we digitize it for you. Finding aids contain much more information than we have time to cover right now. And because every collection is different, every finding aid and collection description may contain different kinds of information than you see here. One collection might need a lengthy note describing the complicated restrictions that apply to hundreds of boxes of government materials, or a finding aid might just be a couple of paragraphs or a couple of kinds of information about a collection that's just 2 folders of material. It all really depends on what the collection is like. So let's jump to the last kind of online resource we have for you, which is our website archives. Our website archives are collected and accessed using a tool called Archive It, which is owned by the Internet Archive, which I hope some of you have heard of. But in case you haven't, and just because it will be relevant to how you access our stuff, let me give you a brief introduction to the Internet Archive. So let's say you want to know what a website looked like in the past. You can go to archive.org and search for a URL. When you do that, you get a nice histogram that shows you all of the captures for this website throughout time, throughout when they started being captured. So we can see that drexel.edu was captured a lot in 2020 and first started being captured in 1997. You can click on the year and then you get a calendar view that shows you what days the website was captured. And sometimes if there are multiple captures on a day, you'll get timestamps. If you click on one of those, you will be taken to what this website looked like on June 26, 1997. It's important to note that the Internet Archive is not a program running constantly in the background, quietly preserving websites all the time. It only works if an actual person, like a digital archivist, points this tool at a website and says, here, capture this right now. So that's why you will often see gaps in website archives and why the website you're looking for might not be preserved. There are 2 main ways you can access the website materials maintained by Drexel University Archives. One is the method I just showed you. Everything we point to the Archive It tool at is saved as part of the Internet Archive. So you can find things we have preserved just by doing a search at archive.org. And you can tell if a site was preserved by us by clicking on About This Capture in the upper right. This one was not preserved by us because it's from 1997 and we were not capturing websites in 1997. You can also see everything we've collected through a web page that rounds up everything the Drexel University Archives is preserving. This is on our website, which is part of the library's website. We have an Explore Our Collections section, which includes this link to the front page of all of our website collections. When you see something you're interested in, you click on the URL, and this takes you to a familiar calendar view where you can just click on the date of the website capture, and you'll go to the preserved version of the website. There we go. So you can see that we captured this one once a year for 6 years. The biggest limitation to searching websites inside of ArchiveIt is that you don't actually search the text that is part of the preserved website. So when you search, you're only searching the URL and any of this descriptive metadata that an archivist has given by hand to this website capture. So for example, if you wanted to know what Drexel University websites say about how the university is responding to the pandemic, you might come here and search for COVID. But this is just giving you one result. I guarantee we have more websites than just this one. And in fact, we have a main pandemic response website, which we are archiving, but this search doesn't turn up because the word COVID is not part of that website's URL. So using ArchiveIt means you kind of need to know what website or what URL might have the information you're interested in, and then you can search for that website and go to look at the preserved webpage. But of course, if you feel stuck or confused, you should always ask an archivist. So there are 3 things I want you to take away from this webinar. One is just that not everything is digitized, and not everything that's digitized is online. The second thing is that we have 3 main types of material online for you. We have digitized historical images and texts, we have a database of guides to our collections, and we have website archives. And the third thing I hope you'll remember, and this is really the biggest thing, is that whenever you're in doubt about something, you should ask an archivist. Answering your questions and connecting you with historical material is quite literally why we are here, and we'd love to do it. So whenever you have any questions, please email us. You can also email me directly if that would seem more approachable or friendlier. But I will open the floor to questions now. If you have anything, I would say unmute yourself and ask, or type it into the chat. But otherwise, thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
You are welcome. Oh yeah, and if you're interested in, so Rachel just posted in the chat a link to the other webinars that we're doing this fall. They're not all archives related, but there are a couple other archives ones. I'm doing one about yearbooks, my favorite research source, so please attend that if that sounds interesting to you. But there are lots of other ones about different resources the library has available, especially now that we're all doing most of our research and teaching online.